What's up, football fans? Welcome back to the channel, your number one stop for NFL coverage, real-time analysis, and all the action that gets your blood pumping from the preseason to the Super Bowl. Today we've got something truly exciting to break down: the Baltimore Ravens facing off against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 2 of the 2025 NFL preseason. And let me tell you right now, this game wasn't just a warm-up for the regular season. It was a showcase of rising talent, critical roster decisions, and moments that felt much bigger than a typical preseason matchup. From clutch special teams play to statement-making defensive stands, both teams brought the heat, but ultimately it was the Ravens who pulled away and walked off the field with a dominant 31-13 win. Now, I know what you're thinking: it's just preseason, right? Starters aren't playing the whole game. Coaches are experimenting, and there's nothing on the line, but that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. Because this is where the stories begin. This is where future stars take their first steps into the spotlight, where careers are made or broken. And if you watched this game closely, you saw plenty of reasons to get excited, especially if you're a Ravens fan. Let's start with the tone-setting play early in the first quarter. The Cowboys were backed up near their own end zone, and boom, undrafted rookie cornerback Keon Martin, looking like a guy who's desperate to make this roster, comes screaming in on a blitz and buries the quarterback for a safety. That's the kind of play that makes coaches turn their heads. That safety gave the Ravens a quick 2-0 lead and set the tone for what would be a long night for the Cowboys offense. Shortly after that, the Ravens capitalized with a clean field goal from rookie kicker Tyler Loop. And let's talk about Loop for a second. This guy is already turning heads in training camp and preseason play, and this game just further solidified his case. He nailed multiple field goals, including a bomb from over 50 yards, and showed the kind of poise you want to see from a young kicker competing for a starting spot. After the field goal, the Ravens were up 5-0, and things were just getting started. But the Cowboys weren't ready to roll over just yet. In a flash of defensive brilliance, cornerback Andrew Booth picked off a pass and took it all the way to the house, a pick six that reminded everyone that even in preseason, the Cowboys' defense can be lethal when it wants to be. That touchdown gave Dallas a short-lived 7-5 lead, their only real moment of momentum in the first half. But Baltimore responded like a team with something to prove. Veteran quarterback Cooper Rush, who was getting an extended look with the Ravens in a backup role, looked comfortable and composed in his return to Dallas. On a critical 4th and goal, Rush rolled out and connected with wide receiver Keith Kirkwood for a 1-yard touchdown strike, putting the Ravens back in front, 12-7. From there, it was all about execution and control. Tyler Loop continued to show off his range with back-to-back field goals, one from 51 yards and another from 42, stretching the Ravens' lead to 18-7 heading into halftime. Loop's performance is the kind of preseason story fans love to follow. He's accurate, confident, and he's making his case loud and clear. You can already see the coaching staff buying into his potential. Meanwhile, the Cowboys' offense looked lost. Between missed assignments, poor pass protection, and inefficient play calling, it was a struggle. Joe Milton, the rookie quarterback Dallas is trying to develop, had a rough outing. He finished with just over 120 yards passing on sub-50% completions and threw a costly interception late. Milton is a guy with raw tools. He's got a cannon for an arm and can move in the pocket, but you can see he's still adjusting to the speed and complexity of NFL defenses. He had some flashes, including a couple of tight window throws, but the inconsistency was glaring. He later graded himself a D in post-game interviews, and honestly, that self-awareness is encouraging. You want to see a young player acknowledge where they need to grow. Milton is upside, but he's clearly not ready to lead a drive against real NFL starters yet. One of his bright moments came when he connected on a deep 49-yard strike down the sideline. But that play ended in disaster for Dallas when wide receiver Jonathan Mingo went down with a scary-looking knee injury. The Cowboys haven't released full details yet, but losing Mingo, one of their emerging WR3 options, would be a blow heading into the season. That injury really deflated what little momentum the Cowboys had. Meanwhile, the Ravens weren't done making plays. Running back Rasheen Ali led the team in rushing with over 60 yards on the ground, and he looked decisive and powerful every time he touched the ball. He ran like a guy who knows he's fighting for that final roster spot and made a strong case with his vision and consistency. On the outside, wide receiver Devontae Walker put on a clinic. He hauled in 6 passes for over 60 yards, showing great hands and crisp route running. Walker looked like a natural out there, and if he keeps this up, he's going to be very hard to cut. Defensively, the Ravens flew to the football all night. Linebacker Jay Higgins IV was everywhere tallying tackles, making plays in space, and even coming up with a strip sack that led to a turnover. The linebacking core for Baltimore is going to be a nightmare for opposing offenses this year, and Higgins is quietly becoming a leader among that group. In the secondary, Ruben Lowery showed up big, breaking up multiple passes and nearly grabbing an interception of his own. But the biggest defensive statement may have come from the front seven, where Baltimore dominated the line of scrimmage. Corey Bullock and Malik Ham, 2 more young players trying to earn roster spots, repeatedly got pressure and forced rush throws. You could see Dallas' offensive line struggling to keep up with their speed and strength, especially as the game wore on. The Cowboys' offense just couldn't find a rhythm, converting barely 2 third downs the entire night. Compare that to the Ravens, who converted over 40% of their third down tries and controlled the time of possession by a landslide. Dallas did manage to add a couple of field goals, courtesy of Brandon Aubrey, who quietly had a solid night, but they just couldn't finish drives. Whether it was missed blocks, penalties, or just sloppy execution, it felt like every time Dallas started moving the ball, something would kill the drive. Meanwhile, the Ravens stayed aggressive. They added a touchdown from D'Ernest Johnson in the second half, a 2-yard plunge that capped off a 10-play, clock-eating drive. And then, as if to put an exclamation mark on the night, Tyler Loop came back on to drill a monster 53-yard field goal that might have been good from 60+. That gave us our final score, 31-13, and cemented Loop's MVP-worthy performance on special teams. Now, let's not forget this was only week 2 of the preseason. Starters like Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott weren't in the mix, and we didn't get to see top-tier schemes or game plans. But what we did get was a clear sense of depth, readiness, and player development. For the Ravens, this was a showcase of young talent stepping up and performing like veterans. They looked fast, disciplined, and focused on both sides of the ball. John Harbaugh has to be thrilled with what he saw, especially from guys like Loop, Ali, Walker, and the defensive rookies. And with performances like this, the Ravens' final 53-man roster just got a lot harder to predict. For the Cowboys, the concern is real, but not catastrophic. Preseason is where you figure things out, and right now, it's clear that Dallas needs more time to bring together their offensive unit. Joe Milton is a project quarterback, and while he has potential, he's not ready to lead the charge. The offensive line needs tightening up, and the injury to Mingo could force Dallas to explore WR depth in free agency or rely more heavily on veterans like Cooks or Gallup. Defensively, there were still some positives. Andrew Booth's pick 6 was a major moment, and Shamar James showed a lot of promise at linebacker, flying to the ball and reading plays quickly. If the Cowboys' defense can tighten up its tackling and avoid mental errors, they'll remain competitive. But overall, this game belonged to Baltimore. Their backups looked like starters. Their rookies played like vets. And their special teams? Absolute perfection. It's only preseason, but if this game is any indication of what's coming, the Ravens might just have one of the deepest rosters in the AFC. As for Dallas, they've got some cleaning up to do before the regular season kicks off, and a lot of that starts with the quarterback room and the offensive line. So, what did you think of the game? Are you buying the Tyler Loop hype? Do you think Joe Milton needs more reps, or should Dallas start looking elsewhere for backup QB insurance? Let's get the conversation going in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe for more preseason highlights and deep dives, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'll be back with more game recaps, player analysis, and inside access all season long. Until then, this is your host signing off. Thanks for watching, and stay football crazy.